Hi, sixth grade. Going over some English today. We're going to talk about direct objects, which is a tough one. I know it's tough, but you can do this. I have faith in you. We're going to go over your workbook pages 83 and 84, and then we're going to talk a little bit about indirect objects because that's what you're going to be working with today. How exciting. Okay, so turn to page 83. Get your 83 page out, 83 and 84. We're going to go over this a little bit. Just to review, subject of the verb is the main noun in the verb. The subject in the sentence, main noun. Then you have your verb. Your direct object is that which is receiving the action. So when you are answering a question, or when you ask questions to find the direct object. So for example, let's look at the first one. My family visits the College Football Hall of Fame in the summer. Now, in the summer is a prepositional phrase. Of fame, also a prepositional phrase. The subject is family. The verb is visit. What does the family visit? The family visits the hall. Okay, so hall is the direct object. All right, so the next one, number 2, we like the practice field behind the hall. Behind the hall is a preposition. Now, if you're having a hard time finding these prepositional phrases, then you need to go and YouTube prepositions and review your prepositions, okay? All right, anyways. We like the practice field behind the hall. Behind the hall is the prepositional phrase. We is the subject, like is your verb. The direct object is what we like. We like the field. Field is your direct object. Number 3, daring visitors tackle the stuffed dummies on the field. On the field is your prepositional phrase. Visitors is subject. The verb is tackle. The direct object is dummies. Number 4, on the other end of the field, some visitors kick field goals. On the other end is a prepositional phrase. Of the field is a second prepositional phrase. Visitors is the subject. Verb is kick. Field goals is the direct object, or you might have just said goals. Number 5, later players in green uniforms run onto the field. Now this one's sort of tricky because you have a lot of prepositional phrases in the middle. In green uniforms is a prepositional phrase. The preposition in, uniforms being the object. Onto the field is also a prepositional phrase. Onto is the preposition and field is the object. Subject is players. The verb is run. There is no direct object in this sentence. It is a trick sentence. Number 6, players in blue enter from the other side. This one doesn't have a direct object either. The subject is players. The verb is enter. But in blue is a prepositional phrase. And from the other side is also a prepositional phrase. Okay, direct objects are not in prepositional phrases. Excuse me. Sorry, my nose is really itchy today. Okay, anyways. 7, a referee blows his shrill whistle. There's no prepositional phrases in this one. Yay! Okay. Subject is referee. The verb is blows. What is he blowing? He's blowing his whistle. The whistle is the direct object. Then number 8, the scrimmage begins. Scrimmage is the subject, begins is the verb, no direct object in that one. So then 9 wants you to diagram the simple subject, verb, and direct object in sentence 3. So I'm going to do kind of an example here is what it should look like, and it's probably going to be sort of backwards. I don't know how to flip these things, okay? But you draw your sentence line. I'm going to do it at an angle. Okay, sentence line. Remember, you have your perpendicular line that crosses the line. Visitors is the subject. Perpendicular line, okay, that goes straight down all the way through. Sorry, it's backwards. I don't know if it flips when the video processes or not. I don't know what you guys are seeing. Tackle is the verb. And then you have a perpendicular line again, but this one does not cross the sentence line. It starts at the sentence line and goes up. So this goes just like that, and then the direct object. Okay. Of course, for you guys, it goes the other way. But I wanted to see what I've got here anyways. Dummies. Okay? Visitors tackle dummies. All right, next page. Go through these a little bit faster, okay? So, number 2, your subject is players. Exercise is the verb. For the game season is your prepositional phrase. That's it. So on the sentence pattern line, you're going to write SV. Number 2, coach is the subject. Plans is the verb. Plans what? Plans programs. Programs is direct object. Of exercise is a prepositional phrase, and so is for each player. So your sentence pattern is SVDO. Then number 3, players is the subject. Verb is run. What are we running? We don't have anything. Every day is a when. It's not a want. Around the track is a prepositional phrase. So your sentence pattern is SB. Number 4, they is your subject. Strengthen is the verb. What are we strengthening? Muscles. Muscles is the direct object. By weight training is a prepositional phrase. Subject, verb, direct object. Excuse me. I'm so sorry. My nose is itchy. I don't know why. It's like my lip here is itchy too. I don't know. Something in the air. Okay. Must be allergies from being outside. Okay. Where am I? Where were we? Oh, number 5. Okay. Players is the subject. Eat is the verb. What are we eating? Foods. Foods is the direct object. At every meal is a prepositional phrase. The team practices before its first game. Subject is team. Practices is the verb. Before each game is a prepositional phrase. So your sentence pattern there is SV. Number 7, player is the subject. Learns is the verb. And what are we learning? We're learning codes. Codes is the direct object. On the team is a prepositional phrase, and so is for the plays. Subject, verb, direct object. Number 8, all players wear thick protective foam pads on their shoulders, and on their legs. Players is your subject. Wears is the verb. What are they wearing? They are wearing pads. Pads is the direct object. On their shoulders is a prepositional phrase. On their legs is also a prepositional phrase. So your sentence pattern is SVDO. Now, diagramming these sentences. Number 9, you should have players on the sentence line, then a perpendicular line that goes all the way through the sentence line. Eat, that's the verb. Then you have a perpendicular line that stops and does not cross the sentence line. Foods. Then the next one is going to be player again, line that crosses, and you have to keep them perpendicular because the slanty lines are for predicate adjectives and predicate nouns. Keep it perpendicular. That's your line between the subject and the verb. It goes straight up and down all the way and crosses the sentence line. Then we have learns, and then we have another little perpendicular line that does not cross the sentence line, codes. Then finally we have players wear pads for the last one. Now, writing your sentences. That's kind of tricky. You need to make sure that you're using direct objects. It should answer the question what after the verb. It should not be a prepositional phrase, okay? Now, I just want to briefly talk to you a little bit about indirect objects, because sometimes where there's a direct object, there's an indirect object. You never have an indirect object by itself. You always have the two direct object and indirect object together, or else it'll be just the direct object. And these are just for transient verbs. And we call them transient verbs because they transfer the action to something else. So the transient verbs transfer the action to the direct object, and it also will bounce to the indirect object. In fact, in many cases, it's weird because they call it indirect object, but they often come first. Anyways, so look with me on page 85. Look at your little blue box. An indirect object is a noun or a pronoun that comes between the verb and the direct object, and it receives the action. Okay? It'll answer the question to whom, to what, for whom, or for what. So remember, while we're answering questions, while we're finding direct objects and indirect objects, we're answering questions. We answer the verb to the verb what. Whatever answers that what question is the direct object. Okay, so, excuse me, bakes. Bakes what? Bakes a cake. The cake is the direct object. Now we have to whom or for whom. Bakes a cake for whom? Bakes a cake for my mom. Okay? She bakes a cake for my mom. So bakes is the verb, cake is the direct object, mom is the indirect object. So here they have the quarterback threw the receiver, the football in the end zone. The subject is quarterback. The verb is threw. What did he throw? He threw the football. Football is the direct object. Who did he throw the football to? The receiver is the indirect object. And you'll notice here they show you how to diagram these sentences. They go a little bit different. You have simple subject. You have your perpendicular line that goes all the way across the sentence line and through. Then you have your little perpendicular line that does not cross it, and you have your direct object, which would be football. But the indirect object actually goes below the verb in kind of like a little underline. You know, you get a little slant, you get an over, you underline it, and that would be the receiver. So let's look at the guide and practice real quick. Number 1, Coach handed my brother the team trophy at the ceremony. Now, first of all, I'm going to parenthesis my prepositional phrase so it doesn't mess me up. That will be at the ceremony. Put it in parentheses. That way you don't accidentally think it's something else, okay? The subject is coach. The verb is handed. What did the coach hand? He handed the trophy. So the trophy is the direct object. Who did he hand the trophy to? To my brother. So brother is the indirect object. So it gets an IO. Number 2, in the stands, Eli sold the fans hot popcorn. In the stands is a prepositional phrase. Put it in parentheses. Don't get yourself mixed up, especially since this one's at the beginning of the sentence. You could very easily mistake it for a subject. Okay, it's not. It doesn't have anything to do with the subject. It's a prepositional phrase. Begins with in, the object is stands, parentheses around it both. The subject is actually Eli, and Eli sold. The verb is sold. Sold what? Sold popcorn. Popcorn is the direct object. Who did he sell popcorn to? To the fans. The fans are the indirect object. Okay? Now, I said he sold it to the fans. If it actually said that Eli sold hot popcorn to the fans, if that was actually what the sentence said, to the fans wouldn't be a direct object because it's a prepositional phrase, because to is a preposition. So the sentence isn't going to come right out and say to whom. That's just the question you're asking in your own head. If the sentence actually says to so such and such, it's now a prepositional phrase. It's not an indirect object, okay? Just to clear that up, hopefully. All right, so the cheerleader in the red uniform gave the mascot her megaphone. In the red uniform is a prepositional phrase. In is a preposition. Megaphone is the object. Put that in parentheses. The subject is cheerleader. Cheerleader gave. That's the action she's giving. The verb is gave. What did she give? The megaphone. Who did she give it to? The mascot. Now again, if that sentence actually read that the cheerleader in the red uniform gave her megaphone to the mascot, you would not have an indirect object because to the mascot would be a prepositional phrase. But they didn't. They left out the to. They put mascot between the direct object and the verb, where it says that the cheerleader in the red uniform gave the mascot her megaphone. Megaphone is the direct object. Mascot is the indirect object. So we're going to diagram sentence 1. And I did this one already. Okay. Coach, perpendicular line that goes all the way through. Handed, perpendicular line that does not go all the way through. Trophy, and then down here underneath trophy, that's where brother goes. Okay? So I hope this clears it up for you a little bit. Probably going to post another video for you to watch just to be safe. And then you're going to go ahead and do page 86, finding the direct objects and the indirect objects. Have fun. Bye.